It's Origins this week, and we're here to talk to you about all things not Origins. That's because there's a lot of companies that are still putting campaigns out there, even though it's the week of a big convention.
That is true. Now, what's really cool about convention week, about any convention, is that you will get a chance to maybe go to these cons and see some of the games that are on crowdfunding or coming up to crowdfunding in person. They do a lot of demos and stuff of some of those games. And let's just get to one of those giant companies that's launching a crowdfunding campaign.
Is there a big one this week?
There's a big one this week, and they will be at Origins as well. That's Cephalofair Games, a.k.a. Gloomhaven. They are running the Gloomhaven Grand Festival starting this week. It's a bunch of new Gloomhaven products all in one backer kit campaign.
And it is on BackerKit. Yeah. Is this the first campaign we've covered on Crowd Control?
I think this is the first one that we've covered. Yeah. For those who don't know, BackerKit's pretty new to the crowdfunding world. I think even like late last year they announced that they were starting their crowdfunding. And this is probably, this will be the biggest project that they've done, but also it's going to be one of the bigger projects in the world if Gloomhaven's records track.
Yeah, this is definitely the big fish that they landed over at BackerKit.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is going to have a bunch of different things. We're going to talk about a few of them. One of them is the minis. Now, what was it? Origins or
PAX, I think, 2 years ago or
maybe
so.
Sometime in the distant past where they announced these things. They're going to be running a campaign that includes the opportunity to get miniatures.
Yeah, and we got some of those miniatures. They gave us like a little press kit with some of the minis that represent. Very cool. I mean, very cool. Like
it's something that people have been asking for forever, and I think Isaac was reluctant to do miniatures, but then in classic Cephalofair fashion, they listened to their fans and they try to accommodate.
Yeah, that's something that they've been really good at over the years, I think, is like looking at what fans want, and we'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about the second edition.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the miniatures. You're going to get miniatures for everything. All that for Gloomhaven, the Forgotten Circles, I think even Jaws of the Lion, for all the different monsters that you can use to replace those standees. So your game will just look more thematic. And also, they're releasing the Gloomhaven role-playing game on BackerKit, which is another use for those minis. You can take those minis over into the game and use them as, the figures on the battlefield for the RPG as well.
Yeah, they are coming up with all sorts of ways for Gloomhaven and Blank Haven, insert all
the havens, whatever
all
haven.
The havens to take over your table. And like Ryan alluded to, it includes the second edition of Gloomhaven.
Oh yeah, that's the third thing that they're running. So you get the miniatures, the role-playing game campaign, and the second edition of Gloomhaven. Now, a lot of people have been like, oh, well, why? Why a second edition of Gloomhaven? There's a bunch of reasons, more reasons than we know. So we actually reached out to Rage Badger, who, if you don't know she runs one of the largest Gloomhaven-centric fan channels. In fact, her channel is it's all Gloomhaven content all the time. And so she agreed to come on today and talk about why they're doing the second edition. So let's take a listen.
Sup, Gloomers. Gloomhaven 2nd Edition is here. A common question I've seen is, why do we need this? And first of all, we don't. But Isaac and team looked back at Gloomhaven and after Jaws and Frosthaven and determined, that this was a title capable of holding the #1 spot on Board Game Geek for 6 years, and clearly a groundbreaking game in the field, that there's the opportunity for refinement, for improvement, and for balance. And it was very important to them to deliver that to new fans as well as some old fans who wanted a new experience. And that's what it is, a new experience. Even if you've already played Gloomhaven, so much has changed. So let's do a brief overview of what's different. Characters. Obviously, the characters have been changed and rebalanced. We've already seen a few changes, such as renaming the Brute to Bruiser, and we have wonderful new art now, which is fantastic. But the cards also are very different, and the balance is so much better, and the characters are so much more fun to play. And if you just want the characters and not buy a whole new campaign to play it, then you can just get the Mercenary Pack that they are offering with the campaign. But it's not just the characters with these wonderful new cards. We also have the story being rewritten. No longer are we starting Scenario 1 with the Black Barrow. It's totally different. So some of the story beats will be similar, and that's okay, but every scenario has been touched, and some of them completely overhauled, and a few removed, as well as added a few. So instead of 95 scenarios, due to removing few and adding some, it's actually going to be closer to 100. But the biggest thing is the finale, which used to be one really kind of boring final scenario, is now split into 3 really exciting scenarios. Reputation. Instead of one scaling thing going up and down, you instead have 3 different reputations with different rewards. That makes them super cool. And you have the military, the merchants, and of course the cult outside Gloomhaven, all vying for control. And depending on which ones you help, you get access to exclusive items, which is cool. town records and the X puzzle has been changed. Without going into detail, everything is contained within the box now, which for some people is huge. And you don't need to do anything special by driving to Kinko's. But in addition to rebalancing items, rebalancing monsters, and giving a whole new skin to everything and making all the components just look so much better, the biggest sell is being able to experience that game for the first time again, and I just can't wait.
Yeah, so there is a lot in the second edition. And one thing, again, we mentioned before, listening to their fans, one of the things when they announced this campaign that people were saying and clamoring for was like, wait, what about an upgrade kit? Yep. I don't want to buy a whole new copy of Gloomhaven. Well, they weren't going to do that, but then they decided to do that.
Everyone wanted it so bad, and they were like, you know what, if you really want it, and you're really willing to pay, because it's a lot of components that were upgraded. So you're almost getting the whole...
You're effectively getting a new copy of the game.
Almost. So that is, I think that's obviously going to be the biggest campaign that's upcoming this week. But we do still have a few that are running right now that I think are definitely worthy of attention, or are definitely exciting to me at least.
Yeah, and we didn't cover them originally, but one of them, particularly for this guy and Emily, and Jeremy for that matter.
Everybody but you, yeah.
And me. Vital, I love you, and I love your game, just not as much as the rest of the team here. It's Inventions. Yeah, this one's from Eagle Griffin Games, and it's Vital Lacerda's next game.
If you don't know Vital Lacerda, you've probably heard the names of some of his games thrown around a lot. On Mars, Kanban, Weather Machine, Gallerist. These are games that have, Lisboa. These are games that have ended up on so many bestseller lists, so many Game of the Year lists, so many Games of All Time lists. They were in our Games of All Time lists, whatever. He makes very heavy, very complicated, but also very well designed and brain-burning games that are known for being challenging but very satisfying. And Inventions is no exception. I've played this game 3 times now. Played it twice in person. Actually, we got to learn from Vital himself, which was such a great memory.
You played it online recently,
and then I played it online on Tabletopia, which, Tabletopia has its... It took a little longer playing it digitally. But one thing I keep coming back to is, like, this is maybe the cleanest of his games. I think, like, the most straightforward... you just literally follow this chart. There's so much happening. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But they've really, really done a great job with the graphic design, just giving you step-by-step icons for every action, just saying, look, here's everything you do. We know this game is complicated, but if you follow this little flow chart, you're never going to like miss a step. And I think that really helps.
That's kind of a funny statement right there. We know this game is complicated. Here's this flow chart. Like, in fact, I saw the player aids. I've read rule books that are smaller than the player aids for this game.
Yeah, the player, it's good to have them. So, obviously, like, if you're a fan of Lacerda, this is a no-brainer. If you're looking for a good entry into his games, or if you're just new, like maybe you heard about Weather Machine last year, this is his new big one for this year, but it's already on there and it's already attracting a lot of attention. And this is going to be, just a really solid, probably Game of the Year level game.
Yeah, I mean, it's already a successful campaign, but you want to check it out. I think they were up over 300,000 when we were recording.
And then it just launched.
And speaking of ones that were up there, this next one is near and dear to Ryan's heart as a game and probably a TV show.
Yeah, big fan
of
the
show. For
show.
me, TV show only. I've not played the game, and this is Firefly. This is the game, and this is on Gamefound, right?
Yeah, this is their 10th anniversary collector's edition. This is everything. And I literally mean that. Everything they've ever released.
Nathan Fillion is in the box. That's what I heard.
His picture is.
It's like a Willy Wonka thing. He's going to be in one of the boxes.
Everything that you've ever wanted for the game, including all the promos that were really hard to find, and a new expansion, and the minis are all painted this time around, which is really nice.
Period, straight up?
Period, straight up. And it comes with a giant playmat that covers all the expansion content, and it comes in a big box with tray. I mean, it's everything.
They took a kitchen sink approach to this for sure, and I think the reason it's doing so well, and by well I mean it's like I think over 1.1 million or something like that.
As of recording,
As of recording. Again on Gamefound, check it out. But there's a lot of hardcore fans of this. Like I said, I've never played it. Ryan has told us time and time again here on the channel, there's one of
it made it under my top 50,
the most thematic experiences that he's had. Plus, it probably helps if you're a fan of the
It definitely helps if you're a fan of the series. And a lot of gamers just there's a huge overlap there, I think.
Is this a day-long experience?
This is definitely a multi-hour experience. Could be like a 4-hour-long game.
I'm out.
It depends on how many players you have. This thing can play like 6 players, right? So if you're playing like 3-player game, But if you're playing like 6, I think it might even go to 8 now.
You're not selling it to me very well. 8 players for multiple hours.
It's one of those games where you just sit down and you just let yourself be immersed in the world, and it's a sandbox game with a lot of pick up and deliver, a lot of like test your luck, a lot of upgrading your crew and your ship, and all just making money and building engines. Like there's just a lot that's happening at the table. It does really come together in a very satisfying way.
Yeah, another one too that has a lot literally going on at the table is Crossbows and Catapults.
Yeah, did you play this game when you were a kid? This was from 1983, I think.
This is so old.
Wait, you wouldn't even been a kid in 1983.
1983, I was, so here's the situation.
You were like 20, 30 years old?
Pull up a chair and let me tell you a story. No, Crossbows and Catapults came out at a time where I was like kind of aging out of board games.
Sure.
I was in that junior high era where it was like maybe not cool to play board games, that sort of thing. So I'd aged out of it, but I secretly wanted to play Crossbows.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure. It was very appealing because I grew up earlier, before Crossbows and Catapults. We would, my siblings and I would build card houses on either side of a room.
Oh.
And then are you familiar with Lincoln Logs?
Yeah. Oh.
We'd take Lincoln Logs and create little catapults with the little one wood and the green planks.
Yeah.
And launch things
you
at
really
each
were.
other.
You were playing Crossbows.
We invented Crossbows and Crossbows
Somebody
and
owes
Catapults.
you some money, you're saying.
I want a royalty Restoration game.
So anyway, this is Restorations Games is known for restoring those old games. They did Dark Tower, they did Thunder Road most recently, and what they do is they'll take an old game that people loved and they will bring it up to what we consider modern standards.
This is a perfect candidate for that too. Like this, I think, is probably on the short list of games that people have said, "Hey, Restoration, you got to do this one."
Yeah.
Dark Tower was at the top of that list for a long time, and this one was probably really close behind.
Maybe Omega Virus in there somewhere.
And they have announced Omega Virus also.
A little bit.
But yeah, Crossbows and Catapults. If you couldn't figure it out, what you're doing in this game is you're building like a castle out of these big plastic blocks. And there's some playthroughs online. I think the Brothers Murph did a playthrough sitting on either end of a table where there's a phase where they're building up their castle. And you have these little figures. Of course, as Restoration does, they've enhanced it. So it's not as basic and simplistic as the original game. But you still have the fun of launching stuff at each other's castles, knocking them down, knocking out characters. But like, there's characters like, if I have this commander, I have this ongoing power sort of thing, but not if he's been knocked out, then I don't have that. So
like I said, like modern gameplay elements you'd expect to see.
They've gamified it for sure, and this thing is also doing really well already.
Yeah, and it's a toy in a box that has it's a game, like it's such a great idea. And of course, like this is still a crowdfunding project, so you can see all the, they've got add-ons coming. They've got you can get some extra packs of extra pieces.
Oh yeah, the pledge is
build some giant fortresses.
I think the base pledge, I want to say, is in the $30 to $50 range.
If you want to get like the basic version,
just the base box is pretty low. I think it's less than $40 or something like that. And then I think the big Granddaddy all-in thing is like $145.
Well, yeah, but that's multiple.
You get a lot
boxes,
of add-on stuff and bags
to
store your stuff and things like that.
Yeah,
so
that looks really cool. I hope we get it and can shoot crossbows at each other, David. It'll be a lot of fun.
I mean, I want to definitely. I do want to get a copy of that. I don't know how often we'd get it played, but it was worth a live stream, right?
Oh, for sure. Oh, that would be a fun live stream.
Yeah,
I'm looking for. Okay, this is one week I'll say I'm very much looking forward to all of these games. I think this is a crazy week of crowdfunding, and hopefully you guys think so too. I mean, let us know in the comments below what all you're backing, because probably multiple of these games.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll be at Origins in some fashion or another this week. If you're watching it the week of Origins, look for us at least on Thursday. I'm going to commit to being there Thursday at least. Maybe a few. No, probably not. Probably just Thursday.
We'll see. You're asking for bribery down in the comments. Buy you a sandwich if you stay to Friday.
Stay longer? No, it's just Thursday, folks. I'm staying there. But my point being, look for some of these games. I don't know if I assume they're going to have a demo.
I would be.
Are they going to be there?
Yeah, I would be if they're there. Which I don't.
If they're there,
I haven't seen the final list yet because we're
we don't want this video
early.
to turn into an Origins video, but there's not like a giant list of people.
Yeah. Hopefully, I hope they're there and I hope they have it. So we'll see.
Anyway, if you have any questions about any of the things we talked about today, we'll try to answer whatever we can down in the comments. Get down there and ask us whatever you want. Until next time, of course, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.